The Browns announced that Tommy Rees is going to be their next offensive coordinator. They promoted from within. The former Alabama OC came over to Cleveland last year around this time to be the tight ends coach. Did a good job at that, and now is the OC replacing Ken Dorsey. And I'm talking about this again because a lot of people out there think this might signal the Browns want to go with a rookie quarterback, and they feel like Tommy Rees would be the best OC with a young quarterback since he was just at Alabama and then Notre Dame before that, working with young quarterbacks. I don't believe they hired Tommy Rees because of what they plan to do with the second overall draft pick. Unless they are head over heels in love with both Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, meaning it doesn't matter who the Titans pass on, they like both prospects to the point where they're going to hire their offensive coordinator in January without knowing who they could pick in April. Doesn't that seem like a little bit of a stretch? I think Tommy Rees was hired as the offensive coordinator not because of what they plan to do in the draft, but because Tommy Rees has shown to be a really bright, up-and-coming offensive mind. When Nick Saban is talking about a 30-year-old the way Saban was, people should stop and listen. When he is, by he I mean Rees, runner-up to the UNC head coaching job, falling behind Bill Belichick, word is out that this is an up-and-coming mind. And so whenever people make fun of the Washington Redskins for having all those great coaches, Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, Mike McDaniel, and a few more I'm forgetting, Raheem Morris, and I think there's one more too, for being on their coaching staff and not doing anything with them, I think that, and this is a big hot take here, I think Tommy Rees might be kind of one of those guys in the future we look back on. For a reference, Sean McVay was the Redskins tight ends coach on a 3-win team. The next season, promoted to offensive coordinator, few years later, hired away as the Rams head coach. Tommy Rees, tight ends coach on a 3-win team, promoted to offensive coordinator. I'm not saying Tommy Rees is going to have the same career as Sean McVay, but I'm saying you can be a successful coach even if you were the tight ends coach on a 3-win team. That does not fall at your doorstep for the team's failures. Plus, the tight ends this year are not the problem in Cleveland. Like, Jordan Akins played his, lights out when David Njoku was missing time. So, I like the Tommy Rees hire, but no, I don't believe they hire Tommy Rees because the plan is to take a quarterback and they think Rees is going to be a great OC for a young quarterback. They're going to take a quarterback probably at some point in the draft. But they probably don't know what they're doing at number 2 yet, because they don't know what the Titans are doing at number 1. They don't know what phone calls they're going to get for the second overall pick. When the combine rolls around, the Browns might go into that combine with a plan of, we like Cam Ward, and then we like Abdul Carter, and then we like Mason Graham. But that could change at the combine if Cam Ward doesn't look super good, because this is a front office that goes a lot off of analytics and some of the measurements, not so much of the eye test. And the combine is for that. A lot of times measurements, not the eye test. The eye test was the entire college football season in the fall. So what if during the combine they're like, well, Cam Ward isn't actually our guy, and we do love Abdul Carter, but we just got an offer we can't refuse. What, was the Tommy Rees hire a bad hire now because they pivoted plans? Now, I don't think the Browns have dictated what their draft plans are in January for April when they are picking first overall. The only one that can do that right now is the Tennessee Titans. So the number one question that everyone's wrestling with, do you want to draft a quarterback at number 2? I don't go back and forth on this because to me the answer is no, because the people that want to take a quarterback don't actually care too much about the prospect. They care more about the position. And I get that, but this is not the draft class to do that. The same way it wouldn't be the draft class to do that in 2022 when Kenny Pickett and Desmond Ridder and Malik Willis were the first 3 quarterbacks to go. And Matt Corral. What if you needed a quarterback that draft class? Would you still take one 10th overall? No, you wouldn't have. You got to value the second overall draft pick more. Don't just take a quarterback. Take the quarterback you want. If you want Cam Ward because you think he's going to be a great player at the next level, then by all means, you have my blessing to go out on Twitter and make YouTube videos saying draft Cam Ward. But if you want them to take a quarterback and just get the sloppy seconds, whoever the Titans pass on, Do some research on these two quarterbacks. Make sure you're getting the one you want. Now, some Browns fans have seen this Tommy Rees hire and started to wonder, hey, could this signal the Browns are going with Jalen Milroe in the draft? I'm not giving a lot of stock to this idea. For starters, I don't think the Browns should go Jalen Milroe in this draft. Look at the season he had in 2024. 15 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. He was a shell of himself for much of the year. Didn't really see a lot of the ground attack that we saw in 2023. Now, with Tommy Rees, he was much better. So maybe people look at that and go, well, you could bring that version of Jalen Milroe over to Cleveland. Here's the overarching issue I have with the idea that the Browns hired Tommy Rees to get the best out of Jalen Milroe. One, they are not guaranteed to get Jalen Milroe. They could take him second overall. It would be the boldest pick in recent history. But I don't think the Browns are going to do that. So maybe they wait till round 2 or round 3 to get Milroe. But what if someone picks him before them? So now you have a coordinator that was hired in January, predicated around a pick in April, when the draft is a crapshoot and 31 other teams could ruin your plans? No. The Browns did not hire Tommy Rees because they plan to draft Jalen Milroe and they want to reunite that 2023 bond they have. Also, can we just stop with this idea that because a player and a coach, or two players and two coaches cross paths at one point for the rest of their football careers, anytime they're both available, we're going to try and speak it into existence that they come back? For all we know, Tommy Rees left Tuscaloosa because he was like, I can't work with that quarterback anymore. I want to get as far away from him as possible because I'm not going to have a successful job if I'm tied to his success. We have no idea what Tommy Rees's view is on Milroe. So let's just stop this idea of, well, let's play connect the dots, and anyone that ever played under Tommy Rees is bound to come to Cleveland because they overlapped at some point. No, please, don't draft Jalen Milroe. He sucks. Now, who should the Browns draft in round 3 or day 2 of the draft? Here are Mel Kiper's quarterback rankings. I'm just showing you guys this as a blueprint or kind of a starting point to give you guys some names to go off of. But of this list of names, 3 guys that I would be much more receptive to for day 2 of the draft, round 2 or round 3, Jaxson Dart, Will Howard, and Kyle McCord. Jaxson Dart of the 3 probably has some of the best tape, some of the best moments where he's not working with a plethora of NFL studs. Trey Harris, very good receiver in Ole Miss, but he was injured for a lot this season. Will Howard probably has some of the best resume to himself, like 72% completion percentage, but he was also throwing to all future NFL receivers. Not sure if that's going to translate well because there's open and then there's Ohio State open. You don't get Ohio State open very often outside of Ohio State. And then Kyle McCord, I thought, had a really strong season at Syracuse. And I know Buckeyes fans watching this right now don't want him, but be open to the idea because I think scouts are going to be a lot higher on McCord than your average NFL pundit will think. But now I do want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Fume. Fume is an awesome sponsor of ours. Have you heard that they have flavored air? The flavored air category is quickly becoming the leading alternative to vaping and smoking. It's a whole new movement towards better habits, led by the sponsor of today's video, Fume. It is an award-winning flavored air device. Fume fills the void ditching a bad habit can leave. You can still have something to reach for. It is not a vape, and it can be used as an alternative to vaping or quitting vaping. If vapor was compared to sticky soda, Fume cores are closer to herbal teas. Fume has lots of delicious flavors to choose from, like crisp mint and orange vanilla. Fume's design is also about more than just flavor. It's an awesome fidget tool with magnets and clicks to help calm anxiety. If you get started today using my code CHATSPORTS, you'll get a free Fume topper, an awesome accessory to level up your experience. Go to tryfume.com/chatsports or scan the QR code on screen. All of that information is in the comments and description of today's episode. Check out Fume today if you are trying to ditch a bad habit. Thanks so much to Fume for sponsoring today's video. Scan the QR code and use code CHATSPORTS to get your free Fume topper when you order your Journey Pack today. So let's get on to some other news here, and that is a battle that is brewing right now in Northeast Ohio. It is Cleveland versus the Browns. I'm guessing at this point everyone has been made aware of the back and forth lawsuits that's been going on between the team and the city. Well, we have a new twist in the story, and that is the city of Cleveland is suing the Browns for their proposed move outside of the proper city limits of Cleveland, moving 9 miles away as the crow flies to Brook Park. We talked about this a few weeks ago when the city of Cleveland threatened the Browns with the lawsuit, and I said, I think I tweeted out like, this is the city kind of moving their queen. This is kind of their big move, their big splash, and they followed through. So, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm going to do my best to try and articulate what all of this means in a very simplistic and digestible form. So let's actually read the Art Modell law, which is what everything about this is based on here. No owner of a professional sports team that uses a tax-supported facility, which the Browns do, for most of its home games and receives financial assistance from the state or a political subdivision thereof shall cease playing most of its home games at the facility and begin playing most of its home games elsewhere unless, and the unless is very important here, A, enters into an agreement with the political subdivision permitting the team to play most of its home games elsewhere. The Browns have not gotten permission from the city of Cleveland to start playing games elsewhere. Or B, gives the political subdivision in which the facility is located not less than 6 months advance notice of the owner's intention to cease playing most of its home games at the facility, and during the 6 months after such notice, gives the political subdivision or any other individual group of individuals who reside in the area the opportunity to purchase the team. So, one thought I had, and this is a dumb thought, and somebody tell me why it's a dumb thought down below. Why don't the Browns do that option B? Why don't they see if someone will buy the Browns? Knowing they're not going to find a buyer. And I don't think it's like if they find it, they must sell. I read it as the opportunity, right? Is there someone willing to buy the Browns? And if they give the city that option and go, okay, you have 6 months to find a buyer. Our team is valued at $5 billion. I don't believe the city in 5 months is going to find someone who's going to pay $5 billion for the team. And then that buyer will keep the team where it's currently located. I doubt it. The new owner would want to do the same thing the Browns are wanting to do right now. And by the Browns, I mean the Haslams. Build a new stadium elsewhere. So this might be a dumb thought, and you could tell me I'm dumb, but I'm kind of having a little bit of like a, if you have, no spoilers, but the last episode of Yellowstone, where they kind of think of a creative way to get around all the, legal mumbo jumbo. So if you get the reference, you know what I mean. But that was one thought I had that popped in my head. But overall, I don't want to take the side of a billionaire because it sounds like I'm a sheep and I'm just carrying their water. They're billionaires. But this is the tiniest technicality. What was the spirit of the law? The spirit was so that no one took a professional team like the Browns, picked them up, and moved them to Baltimore, right? It was not to prevent the stadium being moved 9 miles next to the airport of the city. Is this really what the lawmakers had in mind in Columbus years and years and years ago? Probably not. They probably just didn't want the Browns to ever move to another city again. They're just moving 9 miles southwest of the city. So, yes, they kind of are in violation of this law. I don't want to side with the billionaire because the simple solution to this, by the way, is the Browns just go to the city and go, we'll pay for the whole thing. We won't split the bill with you. We'll pay for the entire new stadium. And then the city of Cleveland will say, okay, you can move. You have our permission. And that was the part A of the Modell law. Jimmy Haslam doesn't want to spend all his money. This is what billionaires do. I mean, sometimes they do. Stan Kroenke of the Rams, he built the whole stadium in Inglewood. Now, he has complete control, meaning he doesn't play by anybody's rules. It's his stadium, so he can do whatever he wants with it. Whereas when you kind of split the bill with the city, you don't get complete and utter control. Like, you might not be able to make all the parking money. You might have to split that with the city, things like that. And those numbers add up. So the easy recourse for the Haslam's here is to just pay for the whole stadium, and then the city will back off. And that's not the worst idea, because again, I'm not in favor of like go to war, defend the billionaire at all costs, and make the taxpayer pay more money. But I can also somewhat understand the billionaire's point of view of, well, this is a franchise that benefits the entire city. The city makes a lot of money because of the Browns being here. All the taxes they collect from every single home ticket issued, all the concessions, all the parking, all the revenue it drives into the state, and they're not going to have to pay a single dime for this stadium. I get both sides of it, but you sound like such a wimp if you side with the billionaire. So honestly, I think this is probably just going to be worked out in court, and the Browns are probably just going to pay more money, and that'll be that. But they're going to try and do everything they can to avoid paying more money than they have to. So whose side are you on here? The Brown side or the city of Cleveland? I think the city of Cleveland is, unfortunately, prioritizing the wrong things right now. They're going to have to hire some of the best lawyers, spend a lot of money on this. Is that really the best use of the money right now? I would think infrastructure and schools and hospitals might be a better use for that money. Instead, it's going to be fighting the Browns in court. All right, before we get on out of here, let's pick a card. Which card does everyone want to go with? I'm going to say 7 of Hearts. Mr. Barkus?
Let's go Ace of Hearts.
No. 9 of Spades. 9 of Spades. 9 of Spades. Okay. Thanks so much to Fume for sponsoring today's episode. Scan the QR code and use code CHATSPORTS to get your free Fume topper when you order your Journey pack today.